In this episode of the Orange Nerd Show, we are joined by Tonez Poppy, the one and only Tonez Poppy of Bad Thoughts Studio, Mr. Webba and the Italiano. We're talking about Lucasfilm. Big things are happening at Lucasfilm. Kathleen Kennedy is finally leaving the studio. We got big news. We also got some Timothy Chalamet news that Mr. Tonez Poppy brought to my attention. Up next on the Orange Nerd Show. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of the Orange Nerd Show. On the Orange Nerd Show, we talk about just about everything except the theme parks, because you know what? There is more to life than the theme parks. We got studio stuff. We got music video reactions. We got a ton of stuff that we like to talk about as well. And today, we have some big studio news. Lucasfilm, big moves being made. But before we dive in, Mr. Tonez Poppy, welcome back, sir. How you doing, brother?
Pleasure always being on the crew, seeing you guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, today this was a perfect topic to talk about. Not including the Timothy Chalamet stuff, but Kathleen Kennedy is something that a lot of people are kind of happy and sad about. So I'm glad to talk about it. But yeah, guys, if you guys want to follow me on social media, Tonez_TV on X and TikTok, go into my YouTube channel, Bad Thoughts Studio, and my podcast, Bad Thoughts Podcast. We've been having a lot of fun over there. We want to have you boys on there as well. You guys enjoy the game nights, so go ahead and look that up.
Absolutely. I'll be linking the channel down below, so make it real easy for everybody to check it out and subscribe. Bad Thoughts Studio, Bad Thoughts Podcast. Subscribe if you're not already. And actually, you can also check my homepage on YouTube. These guys are part of my featured channels down below, so they're also there. So yeah, absolutely. Mr. Webba out in an undisclosed location on a parking lot somewhere. You doing okay over there, buddy? You safe? Everything good?
I'm safe, man. You know, I'm just here out the night, fighting crime, as usual.
You look like you're on the set of Bel Air.
There it is.
Well, where's my nice, rich-looking house at?
I know, right?
There he is. Mr. Webba, where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter, Mr. Webba at Webslinger760. You can also find me on Instagram and Threads, Mr. Webba at Cobweb91. You can also find me here on Orange Grove 55.
There he is. And the Italiano, where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You can also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And please check out my new channel, the sister channel to Orange Grove 55, Citrico Central.
There we go. We got Kathleen Kennedy news. Kathleen Kennedy. This is courtesy of Puck, actually.
This is a random article that you chose the.
Well, this is actually the one that first came up on my feed, so I thought it was like the source. Matt Bellani over here at Puck. I thought it was the I thought he broke it. I could be wrong, but so I picked this one. But yeah, I mean it's crazy. Puck is actually an interesting news source. He's a Hollywood attorney, I guess, and he started this website like a few years ago. But he's pretty cool. But
that's news to me. I never seen this site before.
Yeah, no, he's really good. He's really good. The only downside to Puck though is that not everything, but a lot of it is behind a paywall, which kind of sucks. But yeah, but he's cool. He's really cool. Kathleen Kennedy to step down at Lucasfilm after a mixed 13-year run. The legendary movie producer has informed Disney, as well as friends and associates, that she will exit as Lucasfilm president by the end of the year. It's happening after years of speculation. The polite urging from observers like me, Kathleen Kennedy has informed Disney, as well as friends and associates, that she will exit, per 3 sources. So this is happening, and this guy is he very much like a Hollywood insider. So this is absolutely happening. Tonez, after all these years, man, there was so much speculation on YouTube and the internets about when she's going to leave. She's finally leaving. What are your thoughts on this? Good, bad, indifferent? How do you feel about it, brother?
Well, I'll say this. Kathleen Kennedy is one of the literally goats of producing. She's one of the best producers we've ever seen, at least in our lifetime. But as far as a leader of Lucasfilm, like the CEO, what's her title again? She's president.
Yeah.
But as far as the president, you could be good at one thing doesn't mean you're going to be good at another thing. So as far as being the president of Lucasfilms, unfortunately, we did see kind of a decline in fandom. Like there wasn't enough movies or shows that a lot of us enjoyed. Of course, don't get me wrong, that we got Mandalorian was great. Some of the Star Wars movies that came out were great, were good. But as far as being the producer, she's great at being that, just not great at being a president. Now, a lot of people know who Michael Jordan is. You guys know who Michael Jordan is? I don't know much about him. One of the best NBA players of all time, the best in my opinion of all time. But after he retired, he became a owner of an NBA team. Now he's looked at as one of the worst owners to ever own a basketball team, and it's like what we're seeing here. She was one of the greats at producing. She produced films that have made billions of dollars, but being the president, we're just not seeing it here. And unfortunately, we're going to be seeing an end. And I do want to talk about later on who the predecessors are going to be, because that's exciting to hear too.
Oh yeah, no, we're going to talk about that. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, the thing with Kathleen Kennedy is like, yeah, I agree with you, Tonez. I mean, she absolutely is a great producer. She didn't do a great job running Lucasfilm. The biggest issue with her, there's a few issues actually. The sequel trilogy, while it made a lot of money, each one of those movies made over $1 billion. They were successful financially on paper. It wasn't necessarily a creative success though. Like there wasn't like a through line for these three films. It felt very like, piecemeal, right? Like each movie was a standalone movie. The trilogy didn't flow really well as a trilogy, right? That's a problem. They didn't map this thing out. I mean, when you're doing a trilogy, you need to know at least where you're starting and where you're going to end up, right? And then you can kind of fill in the gaps and the details kind of come along the way, but you got to know where these characters are ultimately going to end up. And I don't think they knew that. And that's a huge problem. So we had JJ come in, he did Force Awakens. We had Rian Johnson come in and shake shit up with killing Snoke and all that. And then they lost Colin Trevorrow for Rise of Skywalker, and they brought JJ back. And then JJ was like, yeah, I'm going to kind of like, kind of undo whatever Ryan did. And it was just a total mess, dude. So your main thing, which was getting the sequel trilogy out and being a success, while a financial success, it was creatively at best divisive and mixed. And so that alone, everything else can be amazing. The Mandalorian, I heard Skeleton Crew was pretty fun, but that's all small potatoes compared to what your main job was that sequel trilogy. And she fumbled. She really did drop the bag. The other thing too is behind the scenes has been a total disaster with her. I mean, they would announce projects. 6 months to a year later, they would get canceled because of creative differences, or the person that they got ended up getting too busy all of a sudden, and they can't do the project. It was to the point now where it's like they're announcing Star Wars projects, and I don't even care, because I'm like, is this actually going to happen?
And she would never really come out and say anything like by her. She would never come out and say anything. Like I'd never hear or see videos of her coming out and saying, "Oh, we're doing this project and this project." I could be wrong, but personally, I haven't seen her come out and like talk about a project in years. It's been a while.
In years. She's awkward and like publicly very awkward, and she's not like a Feige. She's not really like a nerd like Feige is, and like in there, or a nerd like Filoni or Favreau. So that's a huge problem too. And it's just there's a lot of issues here. And again, I don't hate everything that came out of her era. Like I said, I liked Rogue One. I mean, I liked
Force Awakens is one of the most like box office like hits of all time, dude. So
exactly, Force Awakens. Mandalorian, I think is a cultural phenomenon. So there were some big wins here for her. But Solo, I mean, Star Wars' first flop at the box office was also on her watch. So there was a lot of stuff. Mr. Webba, the hooded Webba, what are your thoughts? And then we'll go to George. What are your thoughts on Kathleen Kennedy leaving? I know that you were a huge Kennedy fan. I'm sure you're really, I'm sure you're really broken up by this news. But are you doing okay, man? Did you take a Lexapro before you got on the show? Are you okay?
That's why he's standing up.
Yeah.
Ready to go.
Before you go on your Ebba rant, because I know you're going to get like all like into it. I have to say, actually, of how you're dressed with your background, it looks like you're doing a reboot to 8 Mile.
Oh, there it is.
That's
There
a
he
good one,
is.
George. I like that.
So
There
take
it
it away, Eminem.
Yeah.
I like that.
He's about to serve some beef right now. Here you go. Go ahead, Webba.
So yes, I'm very happy. Okay, so here's a nothing against her as a person, but as a
Right.
leadership for Lucasfilm, it was not good. She had more misses than hits, and then everything else was very mid tier, right? If you want to excite your fans and get people on board on your brand, you need to make good quality products. And she was not doing that. Yes, there was some Mandalorian. You know, I really liked Andor. Rogue One was awesome. I loved
Yeah.
Force Awakens, right? Good stuff. But then when you got crap like Acolyte, and then Ahsoka was okay, you know. Book of Boba Fett was just trash. Like, I mean, like a lot of these shows were just like mid or just not good. And then why do we only have a few movies of Star Wars in theaters? We have the trilogies, right? The trilogy, Solo, and then Rogue One. Where's everything else? Like Star Wars, in my opinion, should be a theatrical experience in the theaters, right? Like I get it, I want shows too, but where's the big banger main storyline movies at? That's what I want that in the theaters, and we haven't had that for a while. So I'm glad that she's going to be going. And OG, it's funny you brought up the point earlier about like she's not a nerd like fight. Now, actually, just before the recording, I was talking to George, this guy up here, like literally minutes before recording, and I was like, she's kind of chapeki in a way where she doesn't know how to talk to the fans.
Mm-hmm.
She's very like, you know, very monotone. She doesn't get really excited or nerd out with the fans. It's just like kind of more business leader casual on how she goes about when she speaks.
Yeah.
And you need someone like a Daddy Josh or a Feige to really kind of get in there and like have good PR with the public and the fan. And
Yeah.
she didn't have that.
No, she didn't. She didn't. And Jay Shearer, a friend of the channel, absolutely. He's talked about that all the time. The PR with Lucasfilm and Disney in general, but Disney's getting better with their PR as of late. But Lucasfilm has been a total disaster with their PR. I mean, she's done more to demoralize the fandom than I can't even imagine. I mean, literally, I think just bringing someone else in there, like bringing Favreau in there, for example, just throwing a name out there, bringing like Jon Favreau in there alone, I think people would be interested in Star Wars again. I think people are just kind of tuned out. They don't care. The announcements they make mean nothing because, like I said, in 6 months, they're usually canceled anyway. So she's done a lot of damage, you know?
Well,
so what's it? Oh, go ahead, Webba.
Oh, sorry, I was saying, and like, you know, I was hyped when it was announced that we were going to get a Star Wars, you know, a Star Wars, was it Squadrons movie or
Rogue Squadron with,
movie? Yeah, I
Patty
was so
Jenkins.
hyped. Yeah, I was so hyped because I was like, yo, I played the Rogue Squadron games on the Nintendo 64. These were dope. I can't wait to see a dogfighting Star Wars movie. I want to see that. Did we get it? No, because of creative differences or she couldn't fit into her schedule. Like all the stuff you were saying, OG. It's like, why does this keep happening? You know, at first we had one with like Taika Waititi, then we had one with Kevin Feige, and then all these other like these people in Hollywood that were going to create a movie, and then they never did.
Yeah, we had Benioff and Weiss, the Game of Thrones guys. Shout out to Tones Poppy, the Game of Thrones guy. We had Benioff and Weiss. They were going to do something, but then they bailed out. We had
oh no, they fucked themselves. Wait, hold on. They fucked themselves, OG.
Did they? What happened with that? What happened with that?
Season 8 Game of Thrones. They pretty much were like, okay, we're just gonna throw this out because we have a Star Wars project to do. So they threw it out. They saw their project and they were like, nope, you guys aren't. You're not doing anything Star Wars now.
Wow.
They fucked it.
Well, no, Tones, to your point, I was telling OG earlier today that Star Wars, like this brand, this IP, is something you cannot be like relaxed with. This is something you need to be really focused on and give the quality it deserves. It's such a huge like it's really a like the fandom for Star Wars is a really a phenomenon, really culturally. You know, like something this big, you cannot be having flops on. I'm sorry, you can't. And you know, and I'm sorry, like you know, Kathleen Kennedy, 13 years, way too long for how much misses she's been having, and just not even misses with the product, but just mishandling like the studio side, like all the like the behind the scenes stuff. Is like, what are you doing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to talk bad about her as a person, right? But a studio leader, I don't think that she was as a good fit for leadership in it.
No, I agree, and there's a lot of people like on YouTube and stuff, and they've been foaming at the mouth about her for years. And I'm not one of those people. I don't hate her. I agree with you, Webba. I don't hate her, and I don't think she's all bad either. You know what I'm saying? But she fucked this up though. She really did. I mean, that doesn't mean she's stupid. That doesn't mean she's a bad producer. None of that. But as president of the studio, she didn't handle it well. She just didn't. And that doesn't take away her brilliance in other areas. But in this role, it was not good. Go ahead, Tonez Poppy.
Real quick before George goes, I just want to say one thing. I think it's kind of funny, and it might be just a coincidence, but did you notice that recently we got an announcement of 3 new movies coming out starring Ray's character, and then we get this news a couple months later that she's stepping down. Now, I mean, to me, I'm not a fan of the Ray storyline. I just don't think it's that interesting. But the movies weren't terrible. Don't get me wrong. I'm not really too caught up on the storyline. But do you think they're going to go different ways now with that storyline because they're going to be getting someone new that's going to be taken over?
Well, here's the thing. I kind of, and this is probably an unpopular opinion. I was actually watching, shout out to Christian Harloff. I was watching the Christian Harloff show today. He had a big live show about this, and I actually sent him a super chat about this because I think this is kind of where I stand with it. A lot, the sequel trilogy, like we said in this video, right? It's very divisive. A lot of people don't like it. So that's why I want more sequel trilogy stuff. And you're probably, Tonez probably thinking, what the fuck? The OG's fucking nuts, right? Well, the reason being though is like the prequels, right? A lot of fans didn't like the prequels either. When George Lucas did that Clone Wars show set in that same era, it changed the perception of the prequels because the Clone Wars were dope, right?
Yeah.
If they can do the same thing with the sequel trilogy, if they can do a series or something, or even like these standalone movies that are awesome with Rey and change the perception of that character and of that era, I'm all for it. I see more sequel trilogy content as a way to like redeem themselves more or less. But it's a risk though. I mean, you could shit the bed again, you know what I'm saying? Well, but we'll see.
Oh, geez, George, sorry. But I want to point that out about the prequel trilogy is that I don't understand when fans are like pushing to give Lucasfilm back to George Lucas. Guys, you were all complaining and bitching about episodes 1 and 2. You know, with Jar Jar Binks and like the whole crappy writing. Like, I don't understand why you guys want to do that. That's even
the whole fandom, even like with Disney. When Chapek was CEO, people were bitching and complaining about saying, get Chapek out of here, bring Iger back. We need Iger back. We need the magic back. Well, Iger came back, and then all of a sudden people turned on him and said, oh, even though, yes, it was Iger's decision to put Chapek in, and he left the way he did, that was really shitty. But it's almost like no matter which route you go, people are going to say, oh, George Lucas should get rid of it. He's horrible. Oh, my gosh, Kathleen Kennedy's horrible. Give it back to George Lucas. And then if they give it back to George Lucas, they'd complain about that.
Well, why are you going to okay, this is the problem I have with this stuff. A lot of stuff makes no sense. It was George Lucas who picked her.
Yeah.
This is not a Bob Iger decision, Kathleen Kennedy. This was a George Lucas decision. So why do fans, I see so many fans say we should give it back to George Lucas. Like, that's going to get rid of her?
No. I think if anything, if George Lucas had his hand in the pie, so to speak, I think what he would be good for is like the creative elements of Star Wars, but then let other people handle the writing, the shooting, the directing. Have them handle that, and he can just handle the creative aspects of like the monsters, the planets, all that stuff, right? Because he's a very good visionary man. I think he's like, oh, I like this, I like that. This doesn't fit. This is cool, but not here, right? He's very into. I like that. But in terms of like the other stuff that goes into the movie making, I think someone else should handle that process, like Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, or something.
Yeah, no. Lucas is one of the best visionaries. I mean, he's a brilliant visionary, one of the greats of all time, really. You know, but in terms of like dialogue and all that stuff, he's really not great. I mean, it's bad. It's real bad. You know, what say you, Italiano? Sorry, Italiano is attention whore, and we've completely, neglected him. So he's probably going nuts over here.
Well, especially like we're talking about George, and it's not this George.
Yeah,
no, right,
right, exactly.
Every time I hear the name George, it's like, oh, they're referring to me, and then you say Lucas, I'm like, oh, that guy. But for me, kind of sum it all up, what you guys were saying, what Tones was saying, as a producer, that was Kathleen Kennedy's strong point.
Right.
Just kind of like going back with Bob Chapek. He was a numbers guy. He was a consumer products guy. That was his stronghold. You move them into a certain position where it may not be their strength. And when you put someone like that in a president position that's running the whole entire thing, if you fumble, it's like you're the captain of the ship. You're taking it down with you, So I agree with Ebba. 13 years, way too long. A lot of people were assuming that because of the outcome with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny and the cancellation of Willow season 2 and the removal of Willow off of Disney Plus, that was going to be the nail in the coffin. But that was just the assumption that never really came true. So the fact that there are outlets reporting that she's leaving by the end of the year, I'm hoping and praying to God that that's the case.
Yeah,
nothing against her as a person, but like she's like, for me, she's like the female version of Chapek. It's like, if you have a hard time sleeping, just give one of them a call. They're like a human melatonin. It's like there's like no personality, there's no enthusiasm. You have to like hype it up, and you have to know like what the product is you're supposed to be making. And for me, it's when you look at a movie like Solo, that was picking directors leaving. It was like, I think it was the startup of the directors from the Lego movie. There was like creative differences. They left. They brought on Ron Howard to kind of finish it off and kind of like reboot the whole thing. For what actually happened in production for that movie, I think that film did fairly decent because of the challenges that it faced.
Yeah.
I'm with Ebba. I'm not really a big fan of the series of Star Wars. I feel like there's too many of them. I feel like they're cranking them out just to bring content, but really it should be the feature films. Kind of have the series as like a side kind of note. I'm kind of burnt out of the series because they're hyping these things up, and what I've been seeing, I'm sorry, they're not that good. That's why I posted in our group chat. I've only seen a few of the series. I've only seen Mandalorian seasons 1 through 3. I've seen Boba Fett, which I agree, I did not care for that. I've seen Ahsoka, which was pretty good. I do want to see the Skeleton Crew, but everything else I've hesitated to even really pay it any attention to, because it's this thing that where we're giving false hope that we're going to get something, it gets canceled, and then the things that do get greenlit, it's hyped up, but then when you watch it, it's like, wow, this is kind of horrible. And OG, I kind of actually respectfully disagree with the sequels. For me, I think I'm burnt out of them in the sense of, because unlike the prequels, which I absolutely love the prequels, they've utilized the sequels so much with everything, even like into the parks, with the attractions, with Galaxy's Edge, with the Star Cruiser. Like everywhere you turn, it's Kylo Ren and Rey and Poe and Finn. And it's like, I'm just kind of like burnt out of seeing those characters, which it would be kind of cool to your idea that if they went a whole completely direction and they literally made her go to the dark side, like channel her inner Palpatine, then I think that would be the only way that I would actually be interested in seeing Rey again. If they did anything else with Rey, I'm really not that interested.
Yeah, I said before that Rise of Skywalker should have ended with Rey becoming like it's just full blown like Palpatine, like badass, like it's Empress Palpatine, bro. And then you could have had Kylo. He had his redemption arc, and now he's Ben Solo. So now you set up the next trilogy, because now you have Ben and you have Empress Palpatine. And it's kind of cool because it's like George Lucas said, it's like poetry, it rhymes. He's known for saying that. So in the beginning of the sequel trilogy, you had Kylo, he was dark side, and you had Rey, she was obviously light side. And by the end, they switch roles. That's an interesting story. I feel like they played it super safe with Rey, and it's boring. Like, and then it didn't feel like, oh, now she's a Skywalker. It just felt, I don't know, man.
OG, bro, here's one of my biggest problems too with the sequel trilogy, right? Is Finn. Okay? Finn in the trailers, maybe I misinterpreted it, but I was like, oh shit, we're gonna get a fucking awesome badass black Jedi, right? He's gonna be sick,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. But throughout all three of the movies, he's just screaming, Ray! Ray! Like the entire
Oh
time.
no, I was the
And
same way with you, bro. Like I thought Finn was going to be like that undiscovered new hero, and they just turned him into a little bitch. Like
Well-
his character, like it was. I don't know, like, but I'll let you continue. But yeah, I completely agree with you. Based off of the trailers, I misinterpreted that.
Well, even the beginning of episode 7, you know, like he has the kind of broken connection of following the orders of killing all of these of the innocent civilians in the beginning of the first movie. You know, so already he's kind of different going out on his own.
See, that was the problem. That was the problem with the sequels in general. Nobody was on the same page because everybody. A script was written separately for each movie. Like there was no cohesive, like, let's get everyone together. How can we end this and begin this? And then like there was no connective tissue. All 3 movies were all over the place. And at the very end, to OG's idea of turning Rey, instead of having her say, I'm Rey Skywalker. Oh man, if they would have had her say, I'm Rey Palpatine, and you see like the redness in her eyes and it just cut to black. Oh man, like that would have,
bro. I got goosebumps even thinking about that, dude. And she looked bad as hell in that one dream sequence, that vision sequence where she had like that fucking crazy like double-sided lightsaber thing.
Yeah, dude, man, I was dripping.
I don't know. I saw that. I was like, oh man, Dark Vader looks pretty good, man.
I'm telling you, man. That would have been the play. That would have been the play. But that's the thing. They didn't have a through line for the sequel trilogy. That's a huge misstep from Kathleen Kennedy, and it's a shame because these characters are dope. I like these characters. I like Rey. I like Kylo. I like Finn. I like Poe. These are good characters, but they didn't have a good story, right, Tom?
Exactly. 100%. You hit it right there. And not like I said, the movies weren't terrible. They just they were good. The storyline just wasn't intriguing enough for me to be like, I need to keep watching. I need to know.
It's
what's
almost
next.
like as individual films, they were good.
Right.
You put them together as a package, they were horrible.
Well, George, and that's the problem, is that with a trilogy like this, you need it all to fit together as a package. You know, like
no, good.
Oh, no, to say like you need to fit them together as a package, but also at the same time, the movies need to stand out on their own individually.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right, boys, hear me out. I could be saying something very controversial.
Go ahead, Tones.
But fuck it. How about we remake the original trilogy, the original movies, but with better graphics, better everything. Same storyline, different actors. We remake everything. How can like we're doing so much remakes over the years of different movies? Why not the original Star Wars?
So I've answered to this. The way I feel about that is the way I feel about Back to the Future, or like the original Indiana Jones trilogy. I personally would not want any of those 3 trilogies remade. That's just me personally. But what do you guys think?
Well, I think it is very controversial. That's a very controversial. I think Star Wars fans would have a huge issue with that, especially because Star Wars fans don't really trust Disney right now with Star Wars.
Fair.
Right. Yeah. So I think now for them to go in there and redo these films that they see as like these treasures would be a problem for Star Wars.
What if George Lucas was the one who who were to lead everything, like Webba said, the creative side of it, but of course have everyone else help him around him. I just think it would be something people would love to see, especially if newer graphics, same storyline. You know, of course, it's not going to be, the actors are going to be different, of course, but I feel like it's something that we won't fucking hurt. You know what I'm saying? People would love to see it again.
Well, Tones, my kind of little bit counter argument to that, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying a little counter argument. You could be like, well, you know, can't you just go inside the already made digital version of your movie and then just kind of rework what's already there? Like just put in modern graphics on all the ships, on all the CGI,
like a special edition style thing.
Be a lot cheaper. Be a lot cheaper.
Well, and interesting too is like if they ever do decide to do like another sequel trilogy, like after, like let's say they want to do another 3 films after, you know, Rise of Skywalker, which I've heard that they're kind of thinking about that. you need to bring Lucas on board. You need George Lucas on. Like, I'm not saying he has to be like the director of all three or whatever. I'm not saying that. Like, you get other directors and all that, but you need to have Lucas there for like the overall vision and through line for those three films.
Yeah,
it will give the trilogy a little bit more legitimacy in the eyes of the fans. And he's just brilliant. I mean, Lucas is a brilliant visionary. Why not bring him in? But to be fair to Disney, though, it's kind of easy in hindsight to be like, wow, they should have had Lucas there from the beginning for the sequel trilogy. But if you guys remember, there was a lot of animosity towards Lucas going into the Disney era. I mean, people were still kind of ticked off about the prequels. They weren't like in love with that. I mean, so they were, and they thought that the prequels had too much CGI. There wasn't enough practical effects.
Well,
so
exactly, and that's what I was saying, is that these people are contradicting themselves. They're saying, "Oh, give it back to Lucas." Yeah, but you're the same people that complained about his prequel movies. So what do you want? Like, I don't understand that mindset there.
I have a bigger controversial topic.
No sex scenes in the movies, George. Sorry.
Okay, well, never mind then. No. Do you feel like I'm trying to think how to say this, because I know we wouldn't have had the Mandalorian. So I mean, there's certain aspects that I'm glad that they did, but do you feel like it was the best move for Disney to purchase Lucasfilm? Not saying still being in collaboration with them, but do you think of owning them completely? Do you think it was too daunting, them thinking that they can do something, but they didn't realize how big this universe was, and it just became too overwhelming?
I think it was the right move, just because I've always felt Star Wars fits really good under the Disney umbrella. I've always felt that it's a galaxy far, far away, a long time ago. It kind of reads like a galactic fairy tale. It fits in the Disney fold. I mean, if not Disney, he was going to sell it. So who would have done a better job? Warner Brothers, because they've done shit with their DC stuff. I mean, who would have done a better job? Amazon?
I mean, me personally, I wonder if it was something like, even though it would have been sold regardless, it almost is like, because so far, really not too much that was being produced. That is actually, this is the whole reason that we're discussing, even with Kathleen Kennedy. I'm hoping that it turns around. But so far, there haven't been like out of the park hits. It's almost like, do you think it's like they're pushing too much content rather than just like pulling it back and like let some things like breathe a little bit?
The problem with Lucasfilm is that, I mean, the problem with the pullback is that if you pull back, you have to learn something, and they pulled back and they haven't learned anything. So it's like we just don't we don't have movies now. Okay, but what's changed though? Nothing. So if they're gonna pull back, that's great. I support that. If there's gonna be a lesson learned and they're gonna make changes, I feel like they pulled back on the movies and didn't learn anything. So now we're just in the same fucking shithole with no movies now.
See, to answer your question, George, is I agree with OG that Disney was the perfect company to buy Lucasfilm, but it was a bad move to Disneyfy the movies. Disneyfy some of these shows to make it okay to put on the platform, because
that's part of the problem, because that's the thing with Disney. That's just like part of their well-oiled machine. Mm-hmm. It's like a lot of times when they own something, they just don't let it alone and let it be its own thing. And it even runs into the parks. It runs into what's going on with Galaxy's Edge. It's like, no matter what they try to do. But then again, OG and I had this conversation. That may not be a Disney thing. That could be a Lucasfilm thing, because we see with Marvel, they don't have the same pullback, sort of.
Well, they don't have the same problem in the parks at all. Go ahead, Webba.
Well, but also too, Marvel, they have more. How should I put this? More known stories that are a bit more mature. Not saying that Star Wars and the EU doesn't have, but I think just like for the general audiences, they probably have a bit more stuff that's more mature, so they kind of be a bit more aggressive in that manner, I think. But yeah, I mean, with the park stuff, right? It's like what we talked about before. Is it better to own your own stuff or get a license for it, right? And what's the pros and cons, right? If you have a license for something, the creator is there to pretty much kind of guide and make sure the product is up to quality. If you own it, now you can do whatever you want with it, right? And that also means, turning that product that you bought into something what you want it to be, that's not the reason why the fans became fans in the first place.
Right.
So it's like, okay, what does Disney do? I do think Disney was the right one to buy it because they are a family friendly company, right? There is a princess aspect to it, right? It's fantasy, right? Which is very cool.
And they got the parks, which they can lean into that too with the franchise.
Well, right, and and you already had Star Tours in there, so it was kind of like a no brainer,
right?
Really, in my opinion, for them to
the
get
only reason why I ask is because it's just how. Let me rephrase it. I don't think it's the notion of them buying it. It's how Tone said it's how it's being run.
Well,
because when they were teamed up with Lucas, when they did just have Star Tours and they had the Star Wars weekends, and it's almost like where when you look at the films like of Avatar, like it's under the banner of Fox. Disney owns Fox, but despite of how people would feel about Avatar, there's not a lot of big people who love the films, but yet it makes over $2 billion every time.
Well, George, that's what I was saying though. To your point, is that's probably because you have James Cameron heavily involved in the process.
Exactly. I was just gonna. That's what I was just gonna say. You have James Cameron, who that was his creation, and then the same with Marvel. Even though Feige kind of like keeps it kind of honed in on Marvel, where Lucasfilm, there's like no one to kind of spearhead to keep it in the direction of Star Wars. And right. I agree with you guys. I think if it's anybody, it would be Favreau, Filoni, or both. Yeah,
we'll dive into that now. My vote would be Favreau because he's kind of like the father of the MCU in a lot of ways because he was, I believe, the director, if I'm not mistaken, of Iron Man. Exactly, the movie that the movie that literally started the MCU. He's really close with Feige. He works well with Filoni. But he also knows Hollywood, and you need to have that Hollywood chops to kind of be the president of this studio. He kind of checks all the boxes for me. Filoni's a good dude, and I think he's a creative dude. He understands Star Wars, but he doesn't have
a wild horse, though, in a sense. Like,
he is, and he doesn't have the Hollywood business chops, and that's the problem. That it would be like having Joe Rohde run Disney. Like, he's great, he's creative, but Joe Rohde doesn't know how to run a company. Yeah. Filoni, I feel, is the same way. It's like, yeah, he's creative, he knows how to make good shit, but like, can he run a studio? Because then you run into the same problem that like you have with Kathleen Kennedy. Yeah, she's a great producer, but she can't run the studio, right? So
right. Well, OG, you're right. And here's the thing: that's totally fine. If Filoni, if Favreau, if Favreau if Favreau was the one that was spearhead to be president, I would be totally fine with. I'd be happy with Filoni just being the top, creative in Lucasfilm because he does very well at that and he knows Star Wars. And I want someone who knows Star Wars to be in that position to lead the team. Yeah. And then you have Favreau who knows how to run like the studio stuff. He's Hollywood chops, right? Yeah, have him there. Don't make the second mistake where you put someone who can't do those things at the top.
Right, and Favreau knows how to work a crowd. You ever seen him at Star Wars Celebration or D23 or whatever? Like he knows how to energize a crowd. He's a nerd. He has that energy to him. He's not a button down suit kind of guy. I think he's the guy. In my opinion, if it was up to me, which obviously it's not, but if it was up to me, he's the one that I would pick. No, and on his right, and on his watch, we had literally probably the most successful thing to come out of Star Wars in the Disney era, which was Mandalorian. Him and Filoni were the guys in charge of that.
But I agree with you. I would honestly, Jon Favreau, I would say is the GOAT when it comes to that. And I do have to actually say too, I do agree with you. I feel like if there was any company, Disney was the perfect fit to purchase Star Wars. I was more so curious to see where what you guys thought, but I'm glad that they bought it. I just don't like the direction that they're putting it in. Right. And I'm hoping that to Disney's credit, it's not actually Disney. It's because of who is running Lucasfilm. And this is what's going to be telling once Kennedy steps down and the new person steps in is like, who's going to make the first move.
Yeah. And I do think it's a Kennedy issue because look, Marvel is not without its problems. I get it. I know the second weekend for Brave New World was not great. You know what I'm saying? But I still feel like that's a transitionary film. Like we're still kind of working through that pandemic era stuff and the Chapek stuff. We're still working through all that stuff. But I trust Feige to kind of right the ship. It's going to take time. There's a lag with this stuff. Pixar. I mean, Pixar is another in-house Disney studio that is making a rebound. You know, they're making a rebound. Disney Animation is making a rebound. Moana 2. We're seeing rebounds across the board with all these other studios of the Walt Disney Company, except for Lucasfilm.
Right.
So it's for me, it doesn't feel like a Disney issue, really. It feels more like a Kennedy problem. And again, that could be maybe I'm being too simplistic with it, but I just see every other studio sort of coming back up and emerging and kind of improving, except for Lucasfilm. You know, who would you put in charge, Tonez Poppy? If you, I mean, we're getting ready, Kennedy. Who'd you like to see run that studio?
I mean, Favreau is a good pick, but I mean, Kevin Feige is someone that I would throw in there. I think he would be perfect for the position, and we can even have Favreau take over his Feige's position at Marvel, and I think that'd be a good, switch for everyone.
That's a ballsy move. I like that.
And not just that, I believe if I'm a Hollywood Reporter, I believe who's reported it says that Feige's he's going to be the leading candidate to take over for Kennedy. And I think, I mean, we've seen the kind of stuff that, Kevin Feige's done. Of course, it's not been perfect with Marvel, right, but he's put out a lot of movies that have made billions of dollars, set records in the industry. So why not switch over to Lucasfilm? Make some Star Wars films, and I think Kevin Feige would be perfect for me.
Oh, well, that'd be great. I like your idea because you could have Feige over at Lucasfilm, you could have Favreau over at Marvel, and these guys work together. Mm-hmm. So it would almost be like it would be almost like a dual leadership for both studios. They'd kind of feed off each other, and I like that. I like that a lot. But is that where your head's at, Webba?
Oh yeah, Tonez, that's actually a great idea that I did not even consider. Like that, if they did that, I would be all on board. Absolutely, dude. Because especially since Favreau was the one who kicked off, Iron Man and MCU. It's like it actually it's kind of like a full circle thing, right? It comes back.
It's a full circle thing, and I think Favreau is absolutely brilliant. I like his films. I don't know if you guys ever saw Chef. It's a great movie. Lion King live action, but hey, everyone's had a bad day at the office. I mean, my boy fucked up. Okay, but
it still made $1 billion though.
It did. It absolutely did. But yeah, I think he's the guy. I think Feige's the guy, and these are the dudes. Like whether you do Tonez' idea where you have them swap. Cool, I'm cool with that. Or whether you have Feige stay at Marvel and you have Favreau do Lucasfilm, whatever they decide to do, you got to go in that direction. These are the guys to head these studios. Go ahead, George.
My only concern that if Feige was to take over Lucasfilm is not saying Feige couldn't do it. He's very good at that, but I feel like that Marvel and Star Wars are two different beasts. I would feel a little bit more. And I know taking risks is one of the it can come with a great reward, but I feel like with how low Lucasfilm is right now, I would lean more into someone who already kind of knows, who has worked on the projects, who's been with Lucasfilm, and that's why I would still lean towards Favreau, and especially because with the Mandalorian. But again, like I'm not saying Feige couldn't do it. For right now, just to kind of get them like back up on their feet, I would lean more towards Favreau because he was already intermixed with Lucasfilm.
I see your point. My only pushback on that would be I feel like Feige's a really interesting dude in that we were at D23, right? And Feige was literally, Tonez, I'm telling you, bro, this Feige, he was like on every panel, bro. Mm-hmm. Like it didn't matter if it could be a Mary Poppins panel, bro.
With the tribute to Richard Sherman, he was there.
He was there. He was Sherman Brothers. He was there. He's a huge Disney fan, though. I mean, he said it. There was a show on Disney Plus. I forgot what it was. Something about the archives. And he was saying he's a huge Disney fan. He loves the animatronics. He loves Mary Poppins. He's into all this stuff. So I think he's a Disney nerd at heart. And I think that you're right. He hasn't had like Lucasfilm experience, but I think he has the creative intelligence to sort of like know these are two different things. And I think he would adjust accordingly. I mean, I trust him with that. I really do. Yeah.
So G, I want to ask,
Yeah.
because I know that you two aren't that familiar, but Tones Poppy, you might be. So we talked about shows and like the whole studio side, right? But we
Oh.
haven't talked about the gaming side of things with Lucasfilm. So we have the two Jedi games which I played. I thought they were fantastic. We had Star Wars Squadrons, which was like the closest Rogue Squadrons game we were going to get currently. That was a lot of fun. We had Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2,
Battlefront
which
was amazing.
which were great. However, my complaint about those, Tones Poppy, is that they didn't live up to what the predecessors were from the original studios,
Fair,
right?
fair,
So
yeah.
so I would love to see if a new president came in and got a really good handle on the gaming side for Lucasfilm, and to start giving us partnering with really good gaming companies and giving us awesome games. Because I think yeah, we have some good ones, but we could definitely use a lot more, absolutely, in the gaming division, I think.
That's a great point. And what remind me what the last Harry Potter game was? Do you remember what it was called?
Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah.
That game, bro, it was just fantastic.
Oh,
Everyone loved
amazing.
that game. And a lot of these studios don't really put a lot of effort into some of these big IP and into the video games, like he's saying. So yeah, I think that would be a great addition. We can get a game kind of like what Harry Potter put out for us. I think that would be fantastic, bro.
Absolutely. Yes, see, Thomas Poppy, yes, exactly, dude. If we got games like that, that was very, just like Hogwarts. If you play Hogwarts Legacy, dude, like that game was very immersive, very detailed, very much into the lore. It was fantastic, man. If we got a Star Wars game like that, yeah, I know that we got the Star Wars game. Was it Thomas Poppy, the one that came out recently? The open world one. I have it. I think it's called Outlaws, right?
Not Fallen Order, right?
No, it was Star Wars Outlaws. Star Wars Outlaws. I tried playing that one, and it was I got bored, honestly. But
oh yes, yeah. It came out last year.
Yeah, so I do hope whatever new president comes in has really good deals with the gaming companies, and they can get us some awesome freaking games. Please do not go with EA. Like, I don't like EA, so please don't do that.
Well, now Disney is very heavily invested and partnered up with Epic Games.
Yes, yeah.
Good
Yeah.
point, OG.
And honestly, speaking of the games too, Ebba, I know you played it, Tones. I'm not sure if you did, but you were saying of how that Indiana Jones game was, and it kind of, I think Ebba, you were the one that said, correct me if I'm wrong, that you said that you wish that was kind of like the route of like how Dial of Destiny should have been.
Okay.
Of how the game goes. And speaking of like a change up with Lucasfilm, I would love to see Indiana Jones come back maybe like in that format, kind of like a Marvel's What If kind of thing, but utilize Indiana Jones.
Right. Well, I'm actually glad you brought that up, because Indiana Jones are now under Lucasfilm, right? So, and speaking of the gaming division, so I actually haven't played it yet, unfortunately, because it was exclusive to Xbox. I have to get it on a PS5 now, whatever. But Jay, I believe Jay has played it, but I told you though, I said from the trailers and gameplay I've seen, this is what the movies should have been, like the last two movies. And Jay Shearer, I'm pretty sure he said this. He said that's exactly what it was too. This game is what the kind of concept the last two movies should have been, right? Very archaeological, going into like these caverns and stuff like that, right? Finding stuff, right? This was something that I think we were missing from the last two movies. Indiana Jones.
I've heard that a lot. I want to ask you guys, because we're talking Lucasfilm. It's not just Star Wars, right? Indiana Jones. I mean, Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So you have this amazing franchise, though. I mean, it's a great franchise. What do you do? Do you recast? I mean, what do you think?
Well, that's what I was just. That's what I was just saying. Actually, I would love to see, because we were talking about the game. I would love to see them do something where not necessarily it would be live action. I would kind of like to see them go the route like of Marvel's like What If, but do it like Indiana Jones style, where it's like kind of has like that graphic novel kind of animation, and just kind of use that way. You're using the character Indy, and you can kind of voice, like have a voiceover where it sounds like Harrison Ford, but you could keep him young, you could keep him youthful, you can have him do all the stuff that he did young, because I can't really foresee anyone else play Indy but Harrison Ford. I know that they were in talks like of Chris Pratt playing him and all that. It's like I don't know. It's
I don't
just
know
like,
though, George. I don't know. Chris Pratt could pull it off.
And they recast Obi-Wan Kenobi with Ewan McGregor, and not only did I think he did a great job, but he's really come into the role. And I'm like, I don't know, if you get the right guy, maybe it'll work.
But I think the thing with Hugh McGregor is he had a much bigger part than, what was his name, Alec Guinness,
yeah,
I believe, where he more so put more to the character of Obi-Wan, where I feel like Harrison was like straightforward, like all 4 films. It was just I almost said Obi-Wan, Indiana Jones, but
true.
I don't know. Like, I guess I could reserve judgment on that if they did get a real good actor to play it, but it would have to be like, I would have him go through a shit ton of screen tests. Like, this wouldn't be like, oh, here's a pretty face. Oh yeah, he looks good in a leather jacket, a whip, and a hat. We're good to go. Like, I mean, you got to own that shit.
George, if you haven't watched the trailers or gameplay of Indiana Jones, watch it, because the voice actor who voices Indiana Jones sounds fucking like him, dude.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So he's just a voice actor, correct? Or is he like the one that does the dubbing voice for the video game?
I believe so. Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. See, if they went more of an animated route, they could utilize him.
Well, right. And also, here's the thing too, Disney, why not get his voice and put it in the ride? I don't understand that. Like, because you're saying you're not using Harrison Ford, so use this guy. This guy does a fantastic job. And on top of that, George, you could do more games, you could do more animated series, right? And keep the Indiana Jones of that age range just kind of live on forever, basically.
Well, the animation that I would love to see, like, I don't know if you guys remember Batman the animated series, but that kind of animation,
love that show.
Yeah.
Amazing show. That kind of animation for Indy. Like, and have the show be a serious take on the character, like not like super kiddie. Like, I want like Batman the animated series where like adults can watch it too. You know what I'm saying? And have Indy and have an Indiana Jones show like that. That would be really, really dope.
I'm right there with you. Like, if he happens to like get punched or something, or like don't be afraid to show blood. Like, don't be afraid to show like scrapes and cuts, and let him get dirty. It's like I want to see that real true Indiana Jones style.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, I think with Deadpool, and I think now with Daredevil coming up, I think Disney is finally starting to realize that it's okay to get a little bit, get like a little bit hardcore, get a little bit bloody and stuff like that. I think that because they see the money, right? So like, oh, people like this stuff. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay to do that type of stuff, guys. Don't be afraid and try to Disneyfy shit. Just fucking make something that's fucking badass. Fucking people getting their arms chopped off and getting beat to the fucking living shit out of them. And put it out there.
100%. So we got some interesting times ahead of us. A new era coming to Lucasfilm. Hopefully they pick the right person and we can get people excited about Star Wars again. I'm a huge Star Wars guy, and I have not cared less about Star Wars in like 3 or 4 years. Could not care less. And if they've lost me, bro.
That's why I went to my question to like, do you think it was a right choice for Disney to purchase it? Again, we all agree that it was, but they have to get a grip on it, because I'm losing interest in it. I love the original trilogy. I love the prequels, and sequels I can give or take. Mandalorian, kick ass. Awesome. Not too big on season 3, but it is what it is. I can't wait for Mando and Grogu, the movie. OG, you and I saw a glimpse of what we're getting at D23. That movie looks, if what we saw is what we're going to get fully, I mean, that's
cool. Yeah, it looks dope. Now we're going to pivot. Now this next story is courtesy of Mr. Tonez Poppy. He brought this to my attention. This is interesting stuff. We're going to go to some Timothy Chamalet. All right, so Chamalet. This is an award acceptance speech at the 31st annual SAG Awards. Now, Tones, I'm gonna play this. We'll play it, and it's only 2 minutes, right? I'm gonna play this. We'll talk about it.
Start at the speech though, because he just wins the award and he walks up. So
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, good idea, brother.
yeah.
And really quick, I just have to give props to the Academy for calling it the SAG Awards. That they gave a shout out to my ex-wife for naming it after her. So I'm really glad they did that.
There we go. All right, here we go. Let's rock and roll.
Real quick, let me get some context real quick before we start. So Timothée Chalamet won the Best Actor award at the SAG Awards. He's walking up to accept his award and give his speech. So this is him during his speech, and just listen to his words carefully, and then we'll go on after that.
There we go.
Oh boy. Raise this up. Guess I'm just gonna talk low. I don't know how to get this up. All right, well, thank you. I was not expecting this at all. Truly. I'll start by thanking my mother, who I'm here with tonight. She has been working at Actors Equity for 40 years, the stage union. And I'll quickly run through this. I know the classiest thing would be to downplay the effort that went into this role and how much this means to me. But the truth is, this was 5.5 years of my life. I poured everything I had into playing this incomparable artist, Mr. Bob Dylan, a true American hero. And it was the honor of a lifetime playing him. It's an honor I share with Monica, Elle, Edward, the entire cast, who in a genre doing a biopic that could be perhaps tired. Everyone gave it their all. So I'm deeply grateful to them. And lastly, I can't downplay the significance of this award because it means the most to me. And I know we're in a subjective business, but the truth is I'm really in pursuit of greatness. I know people don't usually talk like that, but I want to be one of the greats. I'm inspired by the greats. I'm inspired by the greats here tonight. I'm as inspired by Daniel Day-Lewis, Marlon Brando, and Viola Davis as I am by Michael Jordan and Michael Phelps, and I want to be up there. So I'm deeply grateful to that. This doesn't signify that, but it's a little more fuel. It's a little more ammo to keep going. Thank you so much.
Okay. So you brought this to my attention, Tones. You texted me and you're like, I'm pissed. Okay, what's going on, brother? What happened?
Well,
let's talk about
it. That's not what I'm pissed about. To me, I thought that speech was wonderful. He tells people that he is, inspired by some of the greats. He's inspired to be one of the best. And, a lot of people in the industry who act, they don't talk like that. They don't talk about wanting to be someone who's as big as some of those actors that he's named. Like there's not like a competition factor to acting, which he essentially doesn't say that he's wants competition, but he's saying that he just wants to be the best, and he's inspired by these people. He thanked his mom. He's been doing movies since 2008, I believe. So he's, the speech is saying that, yeah, this award doesn't say I'm the best, but it adds fuel to what I want to be, and that is one of the best to ever do it. Now,
and I like real quick, not to cut you off, but real quick, I like also at the beginning when he was like, I can downplay this, but this was a hard 5.5 years for me. I worked my ass off. I respect that. I like his candor in this whole speech. Go ahead, Tones. Sorry about that.
No, I mean, but yeah, that to me, I thought the speech was wonderful, and it showed that he is inspired and wants to be the best. And who the hell doesn't want to hear something like that? You want to hear these actors be passionate about some of these projects that they're doing, and the actors that they're portraying in these movies. He just played Bob Dylan, who's someone that is an icon, an American icon. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't see the movie yet. I didn't see how good he was in that movie, but you want to hear after the movie how amazing it was to play this person, and it inspired him to want to be even better. And I just think that was amazing. But
well said.
The video after that I wanted you to play is what I was pissed off about.
Okay, and we're gonna get to that. I'm very curious. I haven't seen it yet, so it's my first reaction to that video. Webba, what was your thoughts on his acceptance speech before we move on to video number 2?
I thought it was a great speech. I can't really say anything more than that. I don't really know what's happening here in terms of what Tones is talking about, so I guess I'll see. But as for the speech, it was great. It was fantastic.
Okay. All right. Now, do you have a green button-up shirt at home like he does, or no?
Me? No.
Yeah, no. That's with you. George Italiano, what do you think about his acceptance speech? Before we move on to video number 2.
Yeah, I think it was a very strong acceptance speech. I love how he incorporated his mom and her achievements and the greats that were among him. You know, how he mentioned Daniel Day-Lewis and Viola Davis and Michael Jordan and Michael Phelps and all that. So it was, and the strive to kind of like be the best was to say like an award, even though he's very humbled by it, but that's something that doesn't define him as an actor, as an artist, as a craftsman. It's like the work that you put into it, and the 5+ years, you know, he's been working on it to lead up to this point. It's like it's just fueling him more to do great and to be one of the greats.
In an industry where fake and phony is the norm, I appreciate a speech like that from a Hollywood actor.
Well said, OG. Well said.
Right. Okay. So now this is video number 2. Now this is
yeah, a little context for this one. We don't have to watch the whole thing. I just want you to hear the first, not her, but the first woman who speaks. I think we'll go into it later, but this is a TV or a show from Canada. I don't think they're from the US, but this is a talk show from Canada, from what I heard.
Okay, here we go.
Unknown. Although his acceptance speech is getting mixed reaction online. Take a look.
And I know we're in a subjective business, but the truth is, I'm really in pursuit of greatness. I know people don't usually talk like that, but I want to be one of the greats. I'm inspired by the greats. I'm inspired by the greats here tonight.
All right, so what was your reaction to his speech? You guys have been very vocal all show. So don't hold back now.
You know.
Okay. Mixed.
Listen, I don't want to knock anybody's hustle, but Timothy, that should have stayed in your journal, my friend.
Hey.
Inside thoughts. I'm sorry, Timothy. You know, there's like inside thoughts and outside thoughts. And he just blurted it out. And I just thought to myself, you little brat.
Really?
And I felt that if my daughter up there went up there and said something like that, I'd be like, to quote one Kendrick Lamar, be humble.
Okay, first of all, oh man, Tonez, Poppy, now I know why you were pissed.
Yeah.
Bro, like the kid gets up there. I thought it was a very classy speech. He said he worked his butt off to get there. Okay. He wants to be one of the greats, a huge amount of ambition. What the hell is wrong with that?
Before we get into it, there's only a little bit left of her talking, and then we'll go back to finish what she's saying, and then because I don't want to hear the rest of them because they don't really say anything like too, you know,
Intelligent.
No, that too. But they don't say anything too crazy, but she only has a little bit left, so let's watch the rest of what she has to say, and then we'll get into a deep conversation about this.
Okay.
Here's the thing with acting. It's not like a sport where you can rack up numbers. You know, oh, I've got so many wins and I'm the best and I'm the next Michael Jordan, I'm the next Tiger Woods. It's not like that in art. Art, guess what? Guess who determines if you're great? Your audience, not you. So sit down.
Oh, really?
Okay. That's pretty much it.
That's unbelievable.
What did she want him to say then? Did she want him to get up on stage and say, oh, thank you. I want to thank the Academy. Okay, thank you for everyone. I don't see how keeping that in his head or in his journal, why he thanked his mother,
right, and
everything. I'm sorry, she called him a little brat. I'm gonna say it right in front of the camera. You're a little bitch.
Oh shit, George. Well, here's the thing. She was saying like, oh well, it's not up to you to determine if you're great or not. The dude's up there. He won an award. He didn't give that award to himself.
Yeah.
Right.
So
absolutely.
The SAG committee or whatever obviously decided he did a good job. So who the hell is she to say he didn't deserve that?
And the one thing that pisses me off is the name calling. You're calling someone a brat for wanting, who is, for one, is inspired by the greats, and for two, he says that he wants to be something in the future. Why is that something that's someone who's being a brat? But the one thing that irritates me about this all is that she tells him not to say something, not that should go in your journal. that should not be said out loud.
And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, Tones, because that was a woman saying it to a male. Had that been reversed,
and I don't even want to go into that, and that's something that I agree with you saying, but the one thing that irritates me is that a lot of people ask why men don't talk about their feelings, and this is a prime example of what is the why we don't talk about our feelings.
exactly. But that kind of goes into what I was saying, is because I'm sorry, I'm not saying all, but I'm just saying there are some women out there that feel like that they can just run their mouth and say, oh, because I'm female, that I can talk badly and talk down to a man. But the second if a man did it reverse to me, oh my gosh, hands up, like I'm a female, how dare you? I'm sorry. It goes both ways. I'm sorry. Yeah. Unless he actually did something that was really horrible, then you can call him out on it. He said nothing wrong that literally... And she said to stay humble. I think he was very humble.
Yeah, very humble.
He is striving for a goal that he wants to be part of the greats. He wants to be up there with Michael Jordan. He wants to be up there. And she only mentioned about sports. He just didn't mention Michael Phelps and Michael Jordan. He mentioned Viola Davis. Yeah. He mentioned Daniel Day-Lewis. He was just mentioning a branch of people who are considered the greats.
Well, and then she throws in the brat word, like he's like this is just some kid, you know, some brat, you know. It's like, this is a talented dude, man. Like
he's 29. He's a grown ass man, bro. Like
exactly.
I made a video about this on my TikTok, and it, you know, the whole thing of people being told to shut up when it comes to something that they're feeling inside, I think is a bigger, you know, discussion overall. But something that was so not controversial of what he said, and he's the unproblematic, is that how you say it? He's not problematic, he's unproblematic.
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
So he that's him. He's not a problematic person. He goes, he shows nothing but love to everyone, his fans. He never downplays or talks crap about certain things. But the moment he says that he wants to be a great, known to be one of the greats, and you get told, or someone comes out and says that you're being a brat and that you should keep that to yourself, I just thought was mind-boggling to me, and I thought it was very disrespectful.
If there was a young person who gets up on stage and says, you know what, I want to be the next Walt Disney, what's wrong with that?
Mm-hmm.
That shows vision, ambition. That shows that you're a go-getter. That means that you want to do something great in the world. I mean, it's inspiring. What does she want him to do? Get up there and give a cookie-cutter, fake-ass speech like everybody else does?
Exactly.
Oh my God, bro, that's crazy. Go ahead, Webba. Go ahead, Webba.
That was fucking unbelievable. And I can't believe she had so many fucking supporters in that audience with that. Like,
and she said that he was disrespectful. She's the one being disrespectful. I'm sorry, Tone, you're pissed off. That really boiled my butter. Like that, like there's certain things that like really get to me. And I'm sorry, in the words of Gordon Ramsay, someone escort her back to plastic surgery.
I mean,
Gordon Ramsay said that?
Yeah, on an episode of Hell's Kitchen.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, he's a good dude, man. I haven't heard anything bad about this kid. I mean, I don't know. Like you said, Tones, he's not problematic. I mean, he kind of reminds me like of a Tom Holland. He's like that kind of guy. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. But the one thing that is mind-boggling to me about all of this is that he is 29 years old. He's been in the industry since like 2008, I believe.
Right.
But he is known as one of people who've actually watched his movies, known as one of the best actors in the industry at the age of 29. Like he has decades to go to catch up to these people, of course. But the movies that he's in, he's won awards for, and he's been the star of some of these. You know, Dune alone has been one of the best movies out. But have you ever seen a movie called The King? It's on Netflix. I've talked about this before.
Yeah.
His performance in that movie is so underrated. If you guys have a chance, go watch The King. It stars Timothy Chalamet. His passion and the way he carries himself in that movie as a English king is unbelievable, bro. I'm telling you, you guys will have chills watching this movie.
Well, and we were talking about like, you know, if who can replace like Harrison Ford for Indiana Jones and Han Solo and everything, and only certain people can pull off those iconic characters. Him even portraying Willy Wonka, a younger Gene Wilder.
Absolutely.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's a huge feat to accomplish, and he brought that like a memorable performance in
He
Wonka.
killed it.
He did.
Killed
He
it.
really did.
Yeah.
And it's kudos to him. And honestly, I always say this to people: what tries to kill you, make it stronger. So I hope he sees that talk show, whatever the hell that thing was, and I hope that fuels him, not with anger. I hope, as he was talking about fueling, that it fuels him to just say, you know what, the hell, what anyone has to say. I'm doing my thing. I'm doing great things, and I'm going to be that person to reach that incredible feat.
I think we do have actually some audio from Timothy. Hold on one sec.
To everyone who watches my life and gossips about it, don't give up. Season 2 is about to come out.
I mean, this guy, he's going places. And honestly, we talked about it before, Tones. I think we did like a content creation video together like a few months ago, where if you have haters, you're doing something right. And this kid obviously struck a nerve, and he's obviously doing big things, because if he wasn't, that woman wouldn't have cared so much. You know what I'm saying?
And like, constructive criticism is something that I don't mind having or listening to. If you have something to say about his acting, or if you didn't think he shouldn't have won the award, fine, that's your opinion. I'm not telling you how to think. I'm not telling you how to go about criticizing someone. If you don't like it, that's fine. But if you're calling people names and telling him to shut up, pretty much shut up and just keep shit in your journal and don't talk, that's another line that I don't think you should cross, because it is disrespectful, and you should not have a platform like the TV show that you're on if you're going to continue to say that about people, especially if they've done nothing to you.
Oh, 100%, Tones.
That's my opinion.
I mean, this guy worked his butt off. He said on stage, he worked 5.5 years on that thing. He has every right to get up there and say, I'm proud of the work I did.
And there's nothing wrong with that either. But yeah,
no.
I said, shame on her. Shame on her, and that the fact that she has a job as a talk show host and to be talking like that, to be so disrespectful, unprofessional, degrading. It's like, and she said, if my daughter act that way, I think your daughter should be ashamed of you, that her mother is on live television talking about people who you've probably never interviewed, never met, don't know his background, don't know him as an individual person. So honestly, to you, shame on you.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I like him a lot, and that woman was out of control, bro, out of control. I'm glad you brought this to our attention today. I didn't even know what was going on, Tones. I didn't even know. I asked you, like, what is this?
Now, what was your thoughts before you heard the second one? What was your thoughts on? Because you said that you might have
Oh, so I thought you were at issue with what he said, because I watched his speech and I was like, I like it, but I guess Tony didn't like it.
Yeah,
like,
I was the same thing. I was like scratching my head, like, what? I don't like. I love you, bro, but it's like, I don't understand what you don't like about it. You know, it's like,
now it makes sense, man. Now it makes sense, because I didn't watch the second one. I had a crazy day at work today. I didn't watch the second one. I watched his speech though, so I'm like, I wonder why Tones doesn't like that. But we'll see. I'll wait for tonight. You know, we'll see. Now it makes sense. Yeah. That was wild.
And
man.
like I said, she has her right to her own opinion. But as soon as I always say this in my lives when I'm on TikTok, we have a lot of Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon stuff. You are able to voice your opinion. The moment you start being disrespectful and start calling people names and start degrading people is when I start banning people off my stuff. I've had people come in and tell me, you know, your thoughts on this are terrible, and I'm like, okay, I mean, tell me why. And they iterate why it's terrible, and I see their point. We can have a conversation about that. But as soon as name calling and all that, tell me not to talk and all that crap, like, that's a whole different thing that you should not only bring up in general, but especially on a platform and a news or like a network that you work for. And I just that needed to be talked about. No,
well said. And yeah, as content creators, we deal with this stuff sometimes because we have live chats and stuff. If someone ever came to me privately and said, "Oh, gee, so and so is harassing me or made me feel uncomfortable in your community, or I felt unwanted or whatever," that person's gone, dude. Like they're fucking gone. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna take that. We have an audience that likes what we do, supports what we do, and if someone's gonna sit there and make someone feel uncomfortable like that, they're gone. You know, or name calling or any of that fucking bullshit, bro. You know, we don't accept that here. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad you put your foot down too. I mean, it's not okay. And again, like you said, Tones, it's fine if you have a different opinion. Oh man, I don't like the new Disney ride. Fine, that's cool, man. No one said you have to like it, but don't be calling people names. Don't be telling people to shut up. Don't be telling people to sit down. No.
You're just wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
You could be wrong. You can have a different opinion, but don't be making people feel uncomfortable. Don't be harassing people. That's fucked up, dude. That woman's out of line, dude. She's out of fucking line.
Bitch.
And even if it was a dude saying that, we would be having the same conversation of how dumb this dude is acting or the words that he's saying. And you know, like I said, that the conversation with George of like the double standard of everything, it's a way bigger conversation, but it fits in this you know, this context of what we're talking about.
100%.
It would be a different thing if a you know, man
like
said that
for
about
us, like we would hold anybody accountable, whether
absolutely
male, female,
absolutely.
But like society, it would just, I wonder to know, to see like after that, if that gets talked about, like if it gets how his speech got brought up on this talk show, I wonder if this talk show is going to make another talk show, or if this is something that's just going to be swept under the rug. Because if that's the case, to me, that isn't fair, because if the roles were reversed, it'd be all over the tabloids.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, crazy stuff, Tones. Wow, crazy stuff. I hope more people talk about it. I hope more people, you know, stand up for Timothy. Justice for Timothy, bro. You know, that was out of control. But we're gonna get out of here today. Fantastic episode of Orange Nerd, where we talk everything except the parks. We talk studio. We do music video reactions, which we haven't done in a while. We got to do some music video reactions again. You know what I want to have on again, Tones? I've been meaning to reach out to him. Is that Made in 93 guy?
Yeah, I sometimes I pop into his. I follow him on Twitch. Sometimes I'll pop in as he's playing like, you know, Fortnite or whatever. Yeah, he's a good dude. Yeah,
I like him a lot. But Tones, where can everybody find you on social media, bro?
Yeah, guys, Tones_TV on TikTok and X. You guys can find me on Instagram and YouTube with Bad Thoughts Studio and Bad Thoughts Podcast. Guys, like I said, we're having a lot of fun with this podcast stuff. These game nights and these discussions that we've been having have been so much more fun than when it was just me and Candid. You know, we got Zach and X on now. So go to Bad Thoughts Podcast on YouTube and Spotify.
There we go. We got to get Zach and X on this channel, man.
Oh yeah,
we got to get those guys on there. Is Zach? Is he pretty nerdy? Would he vibe with what we talk about here? You think, or
yes and no. Zach. So Zach, I've known pretty much since I was like 7 or 8. We grew up playing baseball, and we've just been good friends ever since. He plays professional baseball, so his schedule is conflicting sometimes, but their spring training is about to start for them, so we're trying to get as much content as we can. But he is a nerd when it comes to movies and TV shows, and that's why I've had him on during Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon videos, and you know he's a funny guy. You know, like I said, I've known him my whole life, and he brings that funniness to the podcast for sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, like one of these days we'll have you on. We'll have him on. We'll just shoot the shit, whatever it is. You know, it'll be fun.
Yeah,
it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, George, where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And definitely check out my new channel, In Park Vlogs, Citrico Central.
There is Mr. Webba, the hooded Mr. Webba in the mean streets of New York City fighting crime. Where can everybody find you on social media, Mr. Webba? Oh, you're on mute, brother. You're on mute.
Fuck. Of course I was. Fuck. So you can find me on Twitter, Mr. Webba at Webslinger760. You can also find me on Threads and Instagram, Mr. Webba at Cobweb91. You can also find me here on Orange Grove 55.
There he is. But we got a new kind of show coming up on we're not gonna announce it yet. We'll wait. I'm getting too excited. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching this episode of OG55. Comment down below. We would love to hear from you, all your thoughts on Lucasfilm. We know you guys have thoughts on Lucasfilm. I mean, everyone has thoughts on Lucasfilm. You got to comment down below, and your thoughts on this Timothy Chamalet. Is it Chamalet?
No, you're fucking me up now because I'm gonna forget. Timothy Chalamet.
Chalamet. Sorry, I cannot for the life of me say that. Comment down below with all your thoughts on that. We would love to hear from you. Thank you for watching this episode of the Orange Nerd Show. Here we.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you aren't already, consider becoming a member today.